Welcome back. Well, there we are. We've got the Williams coming in, Ralf Schumacher. Jonesy, the Williams team, I mean, you've been there. You're their favourite son. This would mean so much to them.
Oh, look, it's fantastic. You know, as Martin said, it's an historic day. It's a return for Michelin. It's a great return for BMW. It's Ralf Schumacher's his brother now, giving him the hug, and no doubt the fists will be going all over the place. It's his first ever Grand Prix, and when you've got the first one behind you, you think, right, the monkey's off the back, and you'll find now that Ralf Schumacher will drive better and better and better because he's got one put aside, and now he'll be a goer. And if you think about it, if Montoya wouldn't have been punted off at Brazil, BMW Williams would have won 50% of the Grand Prix we've had this year.
Well, we were talking about that just while a commercial break was on there, and I mean, they had 30 laps they led it for.
Absolutely.
Verstappen rams him from the back. That takes him out. They've won this one. I mean, they've come back big time.
In the practice session here at Imola, they had on the rear wing, apart from BMW Power, it had a little sign, "Keep your distance," written on the back of the wings, which is a rare display of humour from Frank. But they've obviously took it off for the race.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think now this season's starting to unfold. We said at the start of the year when we were in Melbourne, we thought it was going to be one of the best seasons of all time. We're just waiting for the drivers to make their way up now to be interviewed. But the way it's working out, I mean, it's really getting competitive now. And I mean, Ferrari started with so much confidence, now starting to look like they're struggling a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've just had a bad day, and everyone's got to have a bad day. I wouldn't count them out, that's for sure. But I mean, Honda will come back. I mean, Honda, make a very powerful engine. I think Jordan will probably bounce back. BAR up there. I think it's going to be a wonderful season in terms of seeing different makes and different drivers up on the podium, which is terrific.
What do you think, though, when you look at Mika Häkkinen now? I mean, here's a man that was back-to-back champion, so confident, and yet Coulthard's just driving rings for him at the moment.
Well, Coulthard did that a couple of years ago, if you remember. Started off with a bit of a spurt like that, and Mika came back. I wouldn't, discount Mika. I mean, he's still got the fire in his belly, and he's still one of the best drivers out there, bar none. So my interest will be to see how he comes back. It'll be to see how BAR and Jordan come back. I think Williams will go from strength to strength. There's no doubt about that.
All right, there we are out on the podium before the interviews commence, obviously. And Ralf Schumacher will stand by for the national anthem, but what a fantastic moment for Williams. They are back, as Murray said. German driver, British car, German engine. I mean, they'll be
French tyres.
Unbelievable over there, don't
it's funny, I was just looking at the podium then, and you were saying that Ferrari's had a bad day and so forth, but at the end of the day, they're in third spot.
Just stand by for the constructors anthem, instructors. Yeah, you're right, Jonesy. I mean, there's three manufacturers up there represented, and we say Ferrari's had an awful day, but you're right. I mean, they're still there on the podium.
Yeah, it's a bad day for them, and it'd be a ripper day for a lot of other teams. I mean, I'm sure now Williams will go from strength to strength. They are a very tight-knit team. They're a happy team, but there's nothing like a little taste of success like this to get them really revved up. I mean, Patrick Head like the best racer of all times. He's so competitive, it's unbelievable, painful. He'll now, I mean, they'll all go back to Grove now, and they'll be on such a high that, you know, that they'll go for it big time.
Waiting for the champagne. Now, what went through your mind when you'd won your first Grand Prix and you're doing what Ralf Schumacher is doing right now?
Well, you know, when you start out racing cars, it's your goal to get into Formula One, and then you get into Formula One, it's your goal to win a Grand Prix, and when you win a Grand Prix, it's your goal to win the championship. So, I mean, obviously, Ralph's in Formula One, he's now won his first, and he'll be thinking to himself, hey, I didn't really do a great deal different today than what I've been doing for the last couple of years. I've just got a better horse under me. Now, I can start to do this more often, and it just gives you a lot more confidence.
There we go, the traditional spray. Fantastic. Coulthard, very consistent, isn't he?
Well, now he's leading the championship equally with Michael Schumacher, so once again that will really get McLaren up and going. They're saying, OK, we've got a driver here now that's equal first in the championship, let's keep him there. I think this is going to be a really good year. I mean, it's going to be very interesting.
Well, I think we felt that way after talking to so many people in Melbourne. I mean, you had that feeling that the season was going to just explode. With so many cars now closing the gap to Ferrari and McLaren, it really is getting interesting.
Well, there you go. Ralf Schumacher, his first ever Grand Prix victory for Williams. David Coulthard consolidating his championship lead alongside Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello for Ferrari. Mika Häkkinen fourth. Jarno Trulli fifth. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in sixth. The Drivers' Championship, Michael still leads it with 26. Well, he's equal first now with David Coulthard on 26 as well. Rubens Barrichello in third. Ralf Schumacher in fourth now with 12. Nick Heidfeld seventh. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan sixth with 6. Constructors' Championship, Ferrari 40, 10 over McLaren with 30. Williams in third. Jordan fourth. Sauber fifth. And BAR in sixth with 3.
And we'll take a break, but before we go, in the pits, don't forget that, we've talked to Jean Alesi tonight, and of course the unilateral interviews will be coming up after the break.
On your first win, David Coulthard second and Rubens Barrichello third for Ferrari. Ralf, you spent a lot of years watching Michael Schumacher, your brother, clock up over 40 Grand Prix wins, and now you've done it yourself. Talk us through the start. Last year you got on the grass at the start, this year the same again.
Yeah, it was the same situation, but this year I was a bit further and luckily David gave me the space, and yeah, I think it was a clean start. Beside that, you know, from there on I was in front. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest. Then pull the gap out. Then after a few laps I thought he was going to go a bit quicker, so I had to push again because I had to watch after my brakes a bit. And from there on it was a pretty long race, I must say. I mean, you know, it took ages, to be honest.
But notably, you led every single lap of the race. David was about 3 seconds behind when you came in for your first pit stop. But I noticed after that pit stop and after your second, you were very quick straight out of the pits. Did your tyres heat up super fast? You were very competitive.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw in previous races, we just were caught out by a bit of bad luck, really. I mean, the Michelin is a great tyre, and especially in race conditions, is doing a great job, and we saw that today. I mean, everything went perfect. The car setting was great, and the engine, obviously. So, you know, that's why we have the result.
Thank you very much, Ralf. David, could I have your version of the start? Because you were on pole position, but Ralf came through from third place, and then he seemed to open out a little bit of a gap on you before you started stabilising it.
Yeah, no, I moved a little bit just before the start and had to stop the car, and then that's when the lights changed, so I then got too much wheel spin. And to be honest, I thought that I was going to be swamped at the start, but I presume Mika must have made a bad start as well. And then I sort of sensed Ralf was on the inside, and I was getting ready to move that way. And then obviously I had to move to make sure that there was enough space for us all. And then I was interested to know just how quick he would be in the race. And obviously, to my great disappointment, I found out he was quicker than I was. So, you know, congratulations to Ralf on his first victory, and to Williams BMW.
We mentioned how Ralf seemed very quick after his pit stops, but your second set of tyres, they didn't seem to be, from the outside, as competitive as your first and third sets of tyres. Is that correct?
I had a little bit of inconsistency set to set, which made it difficult for me to be really pushing the whole race. So I'd say that, in actual fact, this is probably the most difficult Grand Prix I've had this season in terms of balance. But if you can still pick up 6 points in those situations, then you know, it all helps for the championship.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, David. Rubens, mixed starts from Ralf and David, but yours seemed to be very slow away. Were you carrying a lot of fuel because you then ran on for 30 laps, fully half of the race?
Well, I think we had a great strategy, to be honest with you. I had a slow start. I had too much wheel spin, but then I could follow everyone. I didn't know how many times they would stop, and I was just trying to overtake. I mean, Imola is very, very difficult to do that. I was losing time behind Mika, and luckily I had 3 more laps when he came into the pit, so I could go fast, and and then my race was decided there. It was a great race for me because I started from so far back. It was good to come up, do some quick laps, and finish on the podium.
Now, in the very early laps, Michael appeared to make a mistake and you moved past him. I don't know if he had a problem, but then later in the race, obviously, Michael came in. Was it relayed to you what the problem was with his car, and did you start thinking it could happen to yours as well?
I didn't know what was going on with Michael. I saw that he had a problem with the balance, and probably he wasn't very good on braking. So when I saw him going wide, I took my chance, and I saw that I was quite fast. I was quite happy with the balance of the car throughout the weekend. I think it got us by surprise, the traffic in qualify, and the start, falling back to 8th place. Otherwise, I think we could have fought for with the big guys.
Thanks very much, Rubens. Back to you, Ralf. Is this the start of something big for Williams, BMW and Michelin? 3 marked companies that are getting back onto the big stage.
Well, I mean, it might be a bit early, but we have been pretty strong the whole season. Obviously, have been caught out by some bad luck till now. But, I think we have to keep on working. We have a great package together. We just need to improve it bit by bit, and it might be possible. We'll see. We try our best.
Thank you very much, Ralf. Now, Rubens and...
As they now talk in their own language. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, he seems to be a lot more together than Michael in those situations. I mean, he seems a lot more confident in the interview.
I think they're not lacking in confidence, either of them.
I don't mean that way, but I mean when he's speaking English and so on, he just seems a lot more competent.
Yeah, I think he seems quite cool for his first ever Grand Prix win, that's for sure.
I thought he took it pretty well.